time favorite beginner projects, and that is because it's so customizable. There's so much you can do with this. I'm really only going to talk about this for about 5 or 10 minutes because this is up to you guys to make this kind of as big as you want. So this is a choose your own adventure game, and I guess the best thing to relate this to, if you haven't heard of this before, is kind of these children books. And actually, they have books that aren't children versions too, but they're kind of like pick your own story books where you'll go to a page, right? And it will say like, if you want to go left, turn to page like 42. If you want to like swim across the river, go to page 97, whatever. And then like it kind of brings you on all these different paths throughout the book based on decisions that you make. So same thing here. We're going to ask the user to make a bunch of different choices. We'll start with something simple like, do you want to play the game, right? And then if they say yes, we'll say, okay, you come to some bridge. Do you want to cross it or do you want to swim underneath it? And then based on what they say, if they cross the bridge, maybe we'll say, okay, you come to a dead end. Do you want to turn around or do you want to search the jungle? Whatever. Like you can be as creative as you want. I'm just coming up with stuff at the top of my head. But then if they had instead decided to swim under the bridge, maybe we say like, oh, there was a crocodile and your journey ended, whatever. So you guys can make it as complex as you want, but I'll show you like the basic structure and kind of the nesting of statements and how it works. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm actually going to ask the user for their name. This is something I don't usually do, but I think this will be cool. So I'm going to say name is equal to input. I'm going to say type your name, colon. And then I'm going to say print, and I'm going to welcome the user. I'm going to say welcome, comma, name, comma, to this adventure, exclamation point. And then we'll actually get right into it. And before I even ask them if they want to play, what I will do is I will just say, like, I'll ask them for a choice. I'll say, you come to a dirt road or something. Do you want to go left or right? Whatever. So the first thing I'm going to say here is answer in lower cases is equal to input. And I'll say, you are on a dirt road. It has come to an end, and you can go left or right. And then I will say, which way would you like to go? Question mark. Okay, so let's just go here. And notice that it's doing this auto formatting. You guys don't have to worry about this. It's just my IDE auto formats my code when I save it. And so you can see it's kind of going on a new line. Don't worry about it. You can just do yours in the same thing. But anyways, that's like my prompt. You're on a dirt road. It has come to an end, and you can go left or right. Which way would you like to go? And I'm expecting them to type in left or right. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to check if they typed left or right. I'm going to say if answer is equal to left. And actually, before I do that, I'm going to convert this input here to dot lower. And I realized I kind of messed something up. Hopefully that fixed it. Okay. So we're going to say dot lower. And let me add the space here between the question mark. Okay. So answer equals left. So if the answer equals left, then we'll do something else. Otherwise, we'll say elif answer is equal to right. And then else we'll say print not a valid option, you lose. So I'm just going to make it so if they ever give us something that's not valid, they just immediately lose the game, okay? So if the answer is equal to left, then we need to pick what's going to happen when they go to the left. If the answer is equal to right, we need to decide what's going to happen if they go to the right. So I'll start by kind of doing the left path. And let me just put a print statement here so I don't get an error. You'll notice that if you don't have something indented after it's expecting something to be indented, it will like yell at you and be angry. So you can just put an empty statement like print, and that will kind of fix it. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask them another question. I'm going to say answer, and you can name these variables whatever you want. Maybe it would make more sense to name them like Q2 or something, whatever. I'll say answer is equal to input. And I'll say, okay, like you come to a river. And you can walk around it or swim across. And I'll say type walk to walk around and swim to swim across. And make sure that when you guys do this, you're kind of like, telling the user what they need to type in, because sometimes it's not intuitive on what they should be typing. And so I always try to give them the option, like tell them explicitly like what I'm expecting them to type so they don't give me an invalid option, like not intentionally, So now I'm going to check inside of here if the answer is equal to swim. Elif the answer is equal to walk. And then else, I will print not a valid option, you lose, right? So we'll do that. Okay, so now I need two things to happen here. So print and print. Okay, so I'm going to pause for a second. Hopefully you're getting the idea of what's going on here, right? If they go left, I ask them a different question, and then I check inside of this if statement what they answer for that next question, and then I do something else. Whereas if they go right, I'm going to ask them a different question. And so it's cool because there's like all of these different paths that people can explore. And like if they only go left at the beginning, they're only exploring like half of the potential paths. And then as soon as they go right, there's all new different options. Now you could have the same options for different things they type, right? If they decide to go left or right, you could in theory ask them the same question if they go left or if they go right. But I like to do it differently. I think that's more fun. So let's just kind of continue on this path here. I'll say if the answer is equal to swim, then I'll print you swam across and were eaten by an alligator. Is that how you spell alligator? Maybe. You guys can tell my spelling is not the best. Okay, eaten. There you go, by an alligator. Nice. Now, if they decide to walk across, I'll say you walked for many miles, ran out of water, and you lost the game. Okay? So both of these options here were invalid. So if they decide to go left, doesn't matter what they chose, they were just going to lose. And so instead, they have to go right. And so we've kind of ended the path now on the left. But if we wanted to, maybe swim was like the correct answer, quote unquote, we could add another path here. And we don't have to have them lose on one of these options. I could add another path for walk too, right? Like hopefully you're getting the idea. You can just chain these kind of if statements in as far as you want. So now let's do something for going right. And actually, before we do that, let's test this out. And let's make sure you guys understand what's going on here. Okay, so type your name. I'm going to say Tim. It says, welcome, Tim, to this adventure. You're on a dirt road. It has come to an end, and you can go left or right. Which way would you like to go? Let's go left. When I go left, it says you come to a river. You can walk around it or swim across. Type walk to walk around and swim to swim across. You're going to type swim. It says you swam across and were eaten by an alligator. And then there you go. Boom, you lose, right? Okay, so now let's go and do something for right. So for right, I'm going to say answer is equal to input. I'm going to say you come to a bridge. It looks wobbly. Do you want to cross it or head back? Question mark. And then the options I'll put here, I'm just going to put them in brackets. I'll say cross/back to kind of really indicate, hey, that's the two things that you're supposed to be typing, cross or back. And then here, I'm going to just copy this if-else structure just so I can fill it in. I'm going to say if the answer is equal to back, if the answer is equal to cross, and then I'll continue. So now I'm going to say if answer equals back, you go back to the, I don't know, like main road, whatever. We can make this whatever you want. Now you can decide to drive forward. I don't know, drive to the left or go to the right. Or you know what? We can make going back just be the wrong option. We'll just say you go back and lose. I don't think you guys need me to give too much detail here because I'm having trouble coming up with this. Okay, so we're going to say that crossing is the correct option. So if they decide to cross, then what we're going to do here is now we're going to ask them another question. We're going to say answer is equal to input. We're going to say you cross the bridge and meet a stranger. Do you talk to them? And we'll say yes, comma, no, question mark. Okay, and then same thing here. We can say if answer is equal to yes, if answer is equal to no, and then else we'll say not a valid option, you lose. So let me copy that. Okay, not a valid option, you lose. And then here, again, we can decide what we want. So we'll say print, maybe yes is like the correct answer and it ends the game. We can say you talk to the stranger and they give you gold, whatever, you win, exclamation point. Otherwise, no, we could say print, you ignore the stranger, if I could spell stranger correctly, and they are offended, and you lose. Okay, So again, I'm just like randomly coming up with this stuff. I'm sure you guys are laughing at the options that I'm going with here, but I'm just trying to show you the structure of this program and kind of how like the nesting works so that you can make this as advanced as you want. So now we've kind of implemented something for the right. So it asks you a question. Obviously you lose if you go back. If you go to decide to cross, then you're asked another question. You cross the bridge, meet a stranger. Do you talk to them? If the answer is yes, you lose or you win. If the answer is no, you lose. If you answer something that's not one of those, then what do you call it? You lose. And then, of course, if you wanted to keep going from here, rather than telling them they lose or they win, you would just ask them another question. And you would keep doing this and keep nesting this if and else. And you can make multiple options too. You don't have to just do 2 options. You can make it so they could give you 3 options. You can make it so that you store one of their options in a variable, like name, right? And then you use that variable later on. Like maybe they picked up a, I don't know, like a weapon or something really early. And if the weapon they chose really early is not correct when they go down a certain path, then maybe they lose. Whereas if it was correct, then maybe they can continue on or something like that. And so lastly, I'm going to say print, thank you for trying, comma, and then this is going to be their name. Okay, so let's run this, and I'll just go through a few of the paths, but that's pretty much going to wrap up this game. There's not really much more to show you. This is just a cool one, and I always find this fun, and obviously you guys can come up with better stories than I can. So type your name. I'm going to say Tim. Welcome, Tim, to this adventure. You're on a dirt road. It's come to an end. You can go left or right. I'm going to go right. Okay, you come to a bridge. It looks wobbly. Do you want to cross or head back? I'm going to cross. You cross the bridge and meet a stranger. Do you talk to them? No. It says you ignore the stranger and they're offended and you lose. Thank you for trying, Tim. Right? There you go. Then we could try this again. Type your name. Tim. You're on dirt road. Let's go left. Right? You come to a river. Let's walk. And it says you walked for many miles, ran out of water, and you lost the game. I'm not going to go through all the options. I think you guys get the idea now. That is the Choose Your Own Adventure game.